Our first stopover this morning in Yaoundé to discover our historic sites which could have been producing income through the tourism industry and the selling or marketing of Cameroon's image through culture begins at the Independence Square here in Hippodrome, where the independence of French Cameroon was proclaimed on January 1, 1960. I am standing in reality where the independence was proclaimed by then Prime Minister Amadou Ahidjo in the presence of many world dignitaries, including then United Nations Secretary General Dag Hammarskjöld. If you bring somebody of my generation just in an excursion that this is where independence was declared in 1960, the person may not recognize and may not identify with the place because virtually the originality has been destroyed. The place has been transformed. The beauty, the originality of the place has not been kept. And that is why some of us spend time as Cameroonians in foreign countries, because in other countries across the world where such important historical occurrences took place, the originality has been kept, so the young generation, the new generation can identify itself with the natural history of the environment, with the originality of what happened, and can see the original structures. And that is what calls tourists in other countries, and that is what promotes the historical culture of other countries. This building over the years is being suggested as the Independence Monument. In reality, I can't tell you the number of years we have spent to construct it and the amount of money we have injected to make it a reality. So I will make a step forward and take you to another destination. And now I am at the National Museum here in the nation's capital. This is one of the most historic buildings throughout the history of Cameroon. As it is written there, the building has been existing since 1930 and has been host or has housed nearly all the colonial administrators, the big ones, the commissioners and the high commissioners of French administration in Cameroon before becoming the former presidency of the former Republic of Cameroon, which had independence on January 1, 1960. Now, nearly all the important decisions which have shaped the history of this nation were taken inside this building. For example, the decision by President Amadou Ahidjo that Cameroon was not going to serve as a military base for the Biafrans during the Nigerian Civil War was taken inside here. The decision by President Amadou Ahidjo that this nation was moving from a federal to the unitary state was taken inside here. Many tourists would like to come in here to see the chairs, to see the pens, to see the walls, to see the originality of whatsoever happened in former Cameroon's presidency, which is today the National Museum. Some critics will say that we have destroyed the originality of this building by saying that the first mistake was changing the former presidency to a national museum. But the second challenge we have is that since it is a national museum today, which is keeping all the artifacts, the culture, the history, the football of this nation and whatsoever you can imagine, it is our duty today to come inside and see how rich this place is. Now, this building happens to be the seat of Cameroon's Federal Republic National Assembly. In those days, it was about 100 to 120 MPs who used to sit inside this hall and debate many of the laws which are still affecting Cameroonians today. The laws in the 1960s, be that of moving Cameroon from a federal to a unitary state, were passed inside this building. It is one of the most important touristic sites in the country. Today, it is hosting Cameroon's national bilingualism program, but in reality, it was the building of the Federal Assembly of the Federal Republic of Cameroon, as you can see from the inscriptions here. In many other countries around the world, the originality of this building would have been preserved. Normal chairs which were used here in the 1960s, in the 70s, in the 50s, if you go to other countries around the world, you still have the chance of seeing them. But the sad reality in Cameroon today is that if you bring a child of 20, 15, or even 30 years to see this place, you will not see the originality. The building itself, as you can see, is under renovation work. And now I am at the Reunification Monument here in Yaoundé, Cameroon. And briefly, this structure, this edifice, this construction is a summary of Cameroon's political history. If we're in France, if we're in the United States of America, and if we were in another country across the world, this would have been the identity of nearly all Cameroonian television stations. Because if you watch French media, if you watch American media, the 2FL in France is considered as the background of nearly all television stations, and the Liberty statue in the United States of America is used in nearly all television stations and programs as the background of their identity. And the reason is simple. It is the best way of selling French mark or trademark. It is the best way of selling America's history and culture. But if you look at Cameroon media, we are not using this as the symbol of Cameroon's identity. Where the problem is, Charles Ebune cannot tell you. Even in CRO TV, we are not doing the best when it comes to this. Now I am at the Central Lake here in Yaoundé. This area is supposed to be one of those areas in Yaoundé which was to be a huge source of revenue for the municipality through tourism, because the history of this lake is unique. I am told that it is a creation of the first Greek people who settled here in Yaoundé, the Kyriakides and others who were doing businesses. Several attempts have been made to make it beautiful. Billions and billions and billions of CFA francs have been injected, but all of that is yet to come a reality. Across many other cities across the world, this is just one of the areas where the government delegate to the Yaoundé City Council, Chimi Ebune, could have been making a lot of money, because if this place was extremely beautiful and sold to tourists across the world, everybody would like to come here. And now I am at the Charles Atangana monument here in Yaoundé. Now, this monument represents one of the most historic figures in the history of Cameroon, Charles Atangana, who dined with the German colonial leaders, and when the British and French came after the defeat of the Germans, escaped to Rio Muni, what is known today as Equatorial Guinea, and came back to serve as one of the most important historic figures in French colonial administration in Cameroon. It is discussed that Cameroon has the tendency of destroying its physical history. This one, at least, is a demonstration that all is not lost.